Well, so much for the Dominick Reyes comeback. First round KO for Carlos Ulberg, ending Dominick Reyes's win streak, and all of our nightmares have come true. Carlos Ulberg is the number one contender. Dominick Reyes gets his title dreams cut short yet again. Unfortunately, the MMA world is grieving tonight. Carlos Ulberg, Blackjack. They call this guy Blackjack. He's the winner. And I'm going to give my recap for this entire card. Not the result we wanted. Not even the result I predicted. I predicted Carlos Ulberg was going to win this fight. And I knew it was possible for him to get a KO, but I didn't think it was going to be that early. I thought if he was going to get a KO, it might be in the later rounds. Most likely he'll win a decision, but that was some shade of what Jan Blachowicz did to Dominick Reyes. Blachowicz caught Reyes very similarly with a jab and a right hand behind it when Reyes was crashing forward, which ultimately led to him getting rocked and then knocked out. Very similar kind of combination that Carlos Ulberg landed on the chin of Reyes. And to be honest, right after Ulberg landed the first jab of the fight, and it kind of stumbled Reyes a little bit. From there on out, I was just really worried that he was going to get KO'd. Like, his chin is still very vulnerable. And, got knocked out. Beautiful combination from Ulberg. Not a whole lot happened, but Ulberg just did a really good job at putting Reyes on the back foot and showcasing that his tool bag was deeper. Reyes, and I've said this in the past, he doesn't have the deepest tool bag. He's kind of reliant on a big knockout moment, and I feel like in the tit-for-tat battles, he doesn't necessarily excel. And Reyes does his best work on the back foot when someone charges him, but of course in this fight, he was the one that charged Ulberg. And it usually doesn't work out so well for Reyes. We've seen him charge Yuri. He got knocked out. We saw him charge Ulberg tonight, got knocked out. We saw him do this to Blachowicz. We saw him do it to Spann. And he got overly aggressive. Or not even overly aggressive. He just got caught by the much slicker striker. So, yeah, listen, I had a feeling that, again, this was just a level too high for Dominick Reyes. Unfortunately, he comes up short. But you know what? At the end of the day, we can't take away from this guy. He did beat Jon Jones back in the day. We all know he beat Jon Jones back in the day. But you know what? Credit to Carlos Ulberg. And let's give him some credit. Even though he doesn't necessarily have a personality and he doesn't necessarily have the X factor, he definitely gained a little bit of X factor tonight with that KO. And this is exactly the statement Ulberg needed, especially after that last lackluster performance he had against Jan Blachowicz. Because if he was going to go out here and beat Dominick Reyes by a lackluster decision, I mean, even if he's the most deserving guy in this division, I guarantee you he was going to get passed up by Yuri and Khalil Roundtree. And we'll see what happens with that fight. That fight will happen next week. This was perfect for Ulberg. I mean, yeah, I still don't know for a fact if they're going to give Ulberg the title shot, though, because Yuri and Roundtree are still a lot more popular. But I mean, what more could you ask for if you're the UFC? And Carlos Ulberg is on a crazy win streak at this point. We've seen Yuri fight for the belt. Sure, we haven't seen him fight Big Mog, and we haven't seen Roundtree fight Magomed, so there are fresh matchups to be made, and there are arguments for those guys because those would still be fresh matchups. But Carlos Ulberg definitely deserves it. He's kind of like the light heavyweight Nasruddin Imavov in a sense, where you've got De Ridder, you've got Hernandez. You know, those are the guys with the hype. Those are the guys that are the fan favorites. And then you've got Imavov, who's on a crazy win streak. They're both deserving of title shots, that's for sure. Let's get on to Jimmy Crute versus Ivan Erslan. I picked Jimmy Crute to win this fight, and he gets it done by submission. Not surprising. I will give Ivan Erslan some credit. He did fight aggressively early. But yeah, Jimmy Crute just better on the ground. And that's what I said going into this. Ivan Erslan, he's okay everywhere. He's not great anywhere. And Jimmy Crute, he's okay on the feet, but he's great on the ground, and he pulled it off. I will say that was like the first time I've ever seen a rear naked choke like that. I don't even know how to describe it. It was like how you would imagine a rear naked choke to look like in WWE. Dude, it was like a WWE style of rear naked choke for Jimmy Crute, like a fake rear naked choke. some shit that you would see in a movie, like a Roadhouse movie. Like, that's the kind of choke McGregor's getting in Roadhouse. So shout out to Jimmy Crute for his Roadhouse submission. Ramon Tavares, you know what? We're going to the board with this one. We're going to protest this one. I didn't like the decision. I didn't like the decision at all. I think we got to overturn this. Something's not right. Lighter Man Skill should have won tonight, and Lighter Man Skill did not win. Now, I will say this. Ramon Tavares, I thought he was totally toast after the first round, and he worked his way back into it to make it a bit of a fight. But I'm kind of surprised. I'm a little bit surprised. Jack Jenkins, his boxing was better than I expected, but, you know, I was wrong. I got to admit, I'll take the L. This was a situation in which Lighter Man Skill did not prevail as it usually does. And I'm going to cope a little bit. I'm just going to say, Ramon Tavares, where's the output? This guy is like, you know, we talk about Lighter Man Skill. You got to have some skill with it, though. You can't just be throwing the same thing over and over and over again with low output. Ramon Tavares, all he does is he throws a 1-2, and that's it. He's just 1-2, 1-2, overhand, 1-2. And, you know, Jack Hermanson, he's not exactly the most versatile striker there is. It's not like this guy is Yair Rodriguez, but he's willing to let his hands go, and at the end of the day, he just did more. So Ramon Tavares, I expected him to win this one. I expected him to have a significant speed advantage, a significant boxing advantage, but it's like this guy just sits around there and waits all day. So either way, Jenkins, this was the best performance of his entire career. He looked improved in this fight. Yeah, this is one of those odd cases in which Lighter Man Skill does not actually prevail. Magny and Jake Matthews. This was very similar to the Mike Malott fight. Jake Matthews was winning early. I think Jake Matthews won the first 2 rounds, even though the second round was kind of close. The first round was close. Jake Matthews out-grappled Magny in the second round. He landed some good strikes in the first round, almost submitted Magny at the end of the first round, and there was a bit of a controversial moment in which the ref stepped in a second before the bell rang because he thought Magny was out cold, but Magny wasn't. He jumped up, he protested. We all thought for a moment that this fight was over. The ref realized he messed up shortly after that and sort of just like hoped everyone would forget about it and allowed Magny to just go back to his corner. Magny had this moment where he saw the ref trying to end the fight, and he saw that the ref had the look in his eye of, oh shit, I fucked up. I wish I could take that decision back. And Magny was like, I'm not going to let this guy ruin it for me. I'm simply going to go back to my corner and sit down and act like nothing ever happened. I'm just going to do it. He went back to his corner. He sat down like nothing ever happened. And everything kind of just fell into place and the fight went on. As it should have, because it would have been terrible for the fight to be over. And for Jake Matthews, that must have been an adrenaline dump because he was celebrating. He thought the ref stopped the fight. The crowd started going mild, and the next thing you know, he's got Magny jumping around at the other side of the octagon looking for a clinch. And Magny works his way back into the fight. Crafty Vet puts his foot on the gas and just starts going for Jake Matthews. Blitzes him instantly, gets into his patented clinch position, starts working the wrestling. The next thing you know, he takes Jake Matthews down and subs him. Crafty performance. What is this? His 24th win in his UFC career. He's got 10 plus finishes. Neil Magny has a really underrated resume. He's got a lot of really good names on his resume. He's got Gastelum, Jake Matthews, Robbie Lawler, Jeff Neal, Aleski Dos Santos. I could go on and on. Neil Magny has so many good wins. I was wrong on this. I picked Jake Matthews to get this one done, but Magny not as washed as I thought. His chin held up in this fight. It's not like Jake Matthews really landed that many big shots upstairs, but Magny proved to be the more composed, well-rounded fighter. Let's get to Tom Nolan versus Charlie Campbell. I mean, this was an amazing fight as short as it lasted. Tom Nolan submits Charlie Campbell, giving Campbell his first loss in his UFC career. I picked Charlie Campbell to win this fight. I was very high on Charlie Campbell. I knew that Tom Nolan was good. If you're outstriking Vyacheslav Borshev, I know you're good, but I believed in Charlie Campbell's boxing. I said he's got really underrated grappling. He's got really underrated leg kicks. His leg kicks looked phenomenal. He actually gave Tom Nolan like a hematoma on his leg for mincing his calf up so much. And he actually rocked him early with the boxing. It was looking like my pick was coming to fruition. And Tom Nolan, he stayed in there. He stayed in there, started landing some good shots of his own, and eventually gets a takedown and chokes Charlie Campbell out. The superior grappler, Tom Nolan, gets it done. This is a really good battle of two highly respected prospects. Tom Nolan comes out on top. He's turned things around significantly after getting brutally KO'd in his first ever UFC fight against Nicholas Mota. So, good performance for him. Let's get on to Navajo Sterling versus Rodolfo Bellato. This was a sick fight as well. Slowed down a little bit towards the end, but the first round just absolutely crazy. Navajo Sterling, the critique on him was that he's always bringing the green eggs and ham. This guy's always showing up to the octagon looking green as hell. No shot selection, man. You know, I've got better shot selection than Navajo Sterling, man. I mean, I'm joking around a little bit, but Navajo Sterling, the critique on him has been, you know, he's a little low output, and he's not a guy that's going out there thinking on the fly, making things happen on the fly, right? Like Adesanya said back in the day, I called an audible. Navajo Sterling has not been in that situation where he's calling audibles yet. He's sticking to what Huge is telling him. And for the first time, we saw Navajo Sterling call an audible. I believe he hit Rodolfo Bellato with like a solid right hand or maybe a 1-2 towards the middle of the first round. And he kind of noticed that Rodolfo Bellato looked a bit rocked, and he just went after him. Instant elbow. Just charges in with a nasty elbow. I don't understand how Rodolfo Bellato was able to survive the onslaught that Navajo Sterling put on him for about a minute. And he was landing his own shots. He was landing a couple of counters. But he took like 5 or 6 big elbows in the clinch with Navajo Sterling, like basically putting full force on them. That was really impressive. That's exactly what we wanted from Navajo Sterling. We needed to see that grit. We needed to see him, as I said, go off script, go off the Huge script where, you know, it's a kick. And, you know, he also had really good body shots in this fight. I got to say that as well. He was working the body in this fight. Same with Rodolfo Bellato, but Navajo Sterling, I think he landed like 30, 40 body shots in this fight. Really good performance, impressive. He let his hands go. He wasn't second-guessing himself. So he did not look as green. This was a much improved Navajo Sterling. And again, Rodolfo Bellato, this is a respectable win. It's a jump up in competition from Navajo's past opponents. And both guys put up a good fight, but Navajo, he definitely showed that he has improved. Let's get on to Cam Rowston versus Andre Petroski. I picked Cam Rowston by KO. He gets it done by KO. Andre Petroski just doesn't have a good chin. If you're getting KO'd by a Jacob Malkoon hip when you're shooting a takedown and you collide on Jacob Malkoon's hip, if that's KOing you, Cam Rowston, who's got heat in his hands, who's a high-level kickboxer fighting out of CKB, I think he's going to be able to do just that. And he did just that, landing a really good left hook on the temple of Andre Petroski, sending him flying across the octagon, jumping on him, finishing him. Andre Petroski didn't shoot a single takedown in this fight. And that's kind of an issue with Andre Petroski. And even when he does shoot takedowns, I feel like his grappling's a little underwhelming as well. So I expected mediocre striking from him, and if you don't have a good chin and you've got mediocre striking, it's going to be a problem in front of Cam Rowston. Let's get on to the next one. Jamie Mullarkey versus Rolando Bedoya. Kind of shocking that Jamie Mullarkey has a chin in 2025 and was able to eat bombs from Rolando Bedoya, and also kind of shocking that Rolando Bedoya is unable to beat Jamie Mullarkey in 2025 as well. This is one of those fights where it's like, yeah, this is why you can't really predict MMA, right? Because you've got a guy like Jamie Mullarkey that was literally cut from the UFC because he had been KO'd so many times. And he's coming back on the Australia card. It's been a long time since he last fought. He was getting KO'd with gusts of wind. And now he comes back and he's eating a shoot-the-box 100-piece combination in the third round. Okay, but shout out to Jamie Mullarkey. Crafty vet performance. Let's get on to this one. This is actually a bit of a controversial one because a lot of people are saying this is a robbery. Colby Thicknesse versus Josias Musasa. First round, Colby all day. Second round, Josias all day. Third round, a lot of people were giving it to Josias Musasa. Colby Thicknesse gets his hand raised. They give him the third round. Essentially, the third round was about 3.5 minutes of Josias Musasa stalking Colby Thicknesse, beating him up on the feet, landing big shots on the feet, bullying him. And then the last minute and a half, Colby Thicknesse takes down Josias Musasa, gets in full mount, and lands, I'm going to say, about 20 strikes, but out of the 20, maybe 7 of them were significant. And up until that point, Josias Musasa had like a pretty big, significant strike advantage over him. And so it's like, do you give Josias Musasa the round for 3.5 minutes of imposing his will and like kind of bullying Colby Thicknesse on the feet, getting him to shoot desperate takedowns? Or do you give it to Colby Thicknesse, who has 1.5 minutes of control time, who lands maybe 7 significant strikes, 13 pitter-pat strikes? I think this may have been the wrong decision, all right? Now, the first round was dominant for Colby Thicknesse after that first minute where he kind of had to weather a storm, but he almost choked out Josias Musasa. He landed a lot of significant strikes on the ground. He's got great grappling, but I have to say this, his striking is just awful, okay? His striking looked a lot better against Alexandre Topuria, by the way, on short notice. He looked a lot faster in that fight, and maybe it's because Topuria was a lot lower output and a lot more patient. Josias Musasa just would not give Colby any space and was constantly putting it on him, was constantly making him feel like there was a threat of a punch coming at any time, whereas Alexandre Topuria kind of came at Colby with a bit of that Pitbull style, Patricio Pitbull style, the ole, ole, ole style. And okay, fair enough, maybe Colby was a little bit more comfortable to sit at range and have a kicking approach where it actually looked decent because he could have 30-second moments where he was the only one throwing strikes. But in this fight, he had to sneak in a head kick in between Josias Musasa's flurry of punches. And his striking just looked terrible. When he let his hands go, extremely slow. Man, Josias Musasa, honestly, in moments looked better than Alexandre Topuria. Like, Topuria looked more skilled, but Josias Musasa made Colby Thicknesse look worse on the feet, if that makes sense. At least on the feet, not on the ground, because Colby, he has a claim to win this fight as well. He actually did pretty well on the ground. I mean, he dominated on the ground. So, yeah, this was a weird one. This was a weird one. It could have gone the other way. Is it a robbery? I have a feeling if it wasn't in Australia, it probably would have gone to Josias Musasa, okay? And if that's the case, then it kind of is a bit of a robbery, okay? As much as I'm rooting for Colby Thicknesse as a training partner of Volk, and he's, you know, training with Joe Lopez, and that's a great crew down there in Wollongong. It's a great crew down there. This was one of those where it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. What's that decision going to look like if they're in the U.S.? But, yeah. Listen, Colby looked really good on the ground. He's got to work on the striking, the boxing specifically. Let's get on to this one. Luana Carolina versus Michelle Montag. I'm not going to really break this one down too much. I'm going to do a recap on the boxing channel for this one. The boxing fans are going crazy for this fight, by the way. They were expecting me to do the Luma Luke Boom versus Alexia Tenara fight. But after this scrap, they're saying, hold up, you got to do this one instead. So I'm not going to touch on that one too much. Let's get on to this one. Alicia Ellison versus Brando Pericic. I forget who I picked to win this. I think I picked Brando. And he got it done by KO in the first round. This was a crazy fight while it lasted, really entertaining. But Brando Pericic gets it done by a brutal first round KO in his UFC debut. A lot of Aussie wins on this card, by the way. And of course, the first fight on this card, I picked Alexia Tenara. Let's see how I did on picks. So I got the first two right. I think I picked Luana Carolina to win, so I got that wrong. I got this. Should I count this? I'm going to count this. I'm going to count this one. I'm going to count this one. So I went 3-2, 3-3, 4-3. I got the Cam Rowston pick right. 5-3, 5-4, 5-5, 5-6. Damn, dude. 6-6, 7-6. I went 7-6 on this card. All right, not bad, but not good at all. Actually, the definition of mediocrity. So I look forward to doing much better on next week's card. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.